there. Hopefully I can live up to that with my talk. Right. I'm assuming you can see my screen. Let me know if not. So
Yes,
yeah, thank you. So I'll be walking you through what it means to use Terraform in a startup and what it and how to effectively use Terraform. Why should you use Terraform in the first place? So quick intro. I am Anirudh, principal engineer at Compiling. Compile is a comprehensive healthcare data platform. We are in use in 16 out of the 25 of the top largest pharma companies. Over the past 8 years, I've been, among other things, managing infrastructure at Compile. We've been using Terraform and Vault for 5+ years. So I just want to walk you through what our journey has been like. So currently we have around 15 engineers in our engineering team. But for the longest time, we had around 4. Data is what we do as a business, and infrastructure is not something that directly impacts the revenue for us. So whenever we spend time on infrastructure, it is time that is taken away from revenue impacting tasks. Our infrastructure is spread across AWS, DigitalOcean, and Cloudflare. We have a fairly minimalistic approach to handling infrastructure. But as our company grew, one of the challenges we had to face was to process a lot of data. We had to have large machines capable of running somewhat complicated pipelines. So, but we didn't, these were mostly ad hoc tasks that we had to run at certain times during the month. And then once we were done, we had we needed to no longer keep those machines around, fairly expensive machines, right? So to keep costs low, what we would do is we would go to the AWS console or DigitalOcean console, spin up the machine, run our tasks, and once they were done, the machines would be terminated. But this became a very cumbersome process because initially what we used to have was a notebook where we had shared we had a shared notebook where we had installed scripts and commands that we would copy paste manually and run. Obviously this has a lot of issues, right? So we would quite often forget to install packages or forget parts of the install. So we very quickly migrated to having installed scripts that we ran once the machine was up. But this again did not solve our problems. As you can imagine, this was even at this stage was a very manual process. We ended up wasting a lot of time because of inconsistencies in the machines. And most often these inconsistencies would be caught fairly late into the data processing pipeline, and we would have to break our head trying to figure out what went wrong, and it would be some missing package or some step, some folder not existing, so on. A lot of developer time got wasted. There was a lot of frustration. So the solution to all of this was basically to use Terraform, which with a single command allowed us to bring up a machine, have installed steps ready on that machine. It's sped up our execution a lot. It freed up a lot of our time. We didn't have to babysit installs anymore. But most importantly to me, what that gave us was consistency and reliability. We always had machines that were sort of guaranteed to be the same. There wouldn't be any missing steps. So to me, with the experience that we have had, Terraform is kind of a no-brainer if you are of course, it is a no-brainer if you are a large company and you have a lot of machines to administer and all that. But I would make the case that it also makes sense for a smaller team, for a team that has maybe say 5, 10, or 20 machines. I would make the case that it still is a great ROI spend in terms of time invested. So what I would like to walk you through over the next few slides is some of the learnings that we've had using Terraform in this way. But to begin with, two important principles. One, perfect is the enemy of good. As engineers, we sort of have this notion of doing things the quote unquote right way. But that often holds us back from quickly iterating. So that is something you should always keep in mind. Take a step back and focus on what your goals are before diving in and trying to figure out the best way of doing things. Second, this again is something that is repeated often. Don't reinvent the wheel. It's wisdom that a lot of people will tell you when you are working in a startup. But it's worth repeating because it is actually very critical and very useful to keep in mind. As much as possible, try to reuse existing tools instead of writing your own. So what do these principles mean in practice? A few examples. When we started off, like I said, we would manually go into the AWS console, bring up stuff, and then bring up a machine and run our scripts. And so we had to reuse that to save on time. But the traditional wisdom, if you go to your Terraform documentation, they will tell you that provisioners are a last resort. It's not really a best practice to use provisioners. But we ended up using them anyway. We added a remote exec provisioner and invoked our plain vanilla bash script that did our installs for us. This at that stage, we also violated dry, do not repeat yourself. Again, a wonderful principle in practice, but at that stage, we had a lot of copy pasted code scripts which were essentially same with slight tweaks. But it is okay to violate these principles if it gets you to gets you running quickly. Now, the next stage in our sort of evolution was to have some of our commonly used tools and packages installed already in an image. Now, there are many tools that let you do this to build images like in the IMG or VDI format. But your cloud provider typically also gives you similar functionality. In AWS, this is something like an AMI, or on DigitalOcean, this is basically a snapshot. So you could leverage these to have common stuff installed in a base image. So your image in this case is essentially not your standard Ubuntu 18.04 or 20.04 image. You have some stuff on top of that and baked in. And then when you boot up your machine from that image, it has all of those things already available to you. Another common way of handling things is to have your commonly used scripts and utilities in a Git repo. This again can be baked into your base image, giving you the ability to use install scripts directly from the repository, from the Git repository that has been checked out. Also gives you a place to store scripts that are common, like renewing SSL certificates on Let's Encrypt or performing backups. So it's always a good practice to have those in a separate repository and available in your base image. This also gives you some flexibility in terms of developing your scripts outside your Terraform procedure, sort of a separation of concerns, if you will. My last sort of advice to you is to use or to consider at least HashiCorp's Vault. Like most HashiCorp products, this is very simple to use, simple to install. It has a wonderful and easy integration with Terraform. So if you're at a stage in your Terraform journey where you can use something like this, definitely do consider. It saves you a lot of time. It gives you a lot more security for the amount of time that you will invest on this. Now, to quickly summarize, so what I've covered so far, number one, I made the case that Terraform is a great investment for your time, if even if you are a small organization with a small number of machines, and especially if you have use cases where you have to quickly spin up machines for ad hoc tasks. Secondly, perfect is the enemy of good. You should always keep your goal in mind rather than what seems to you like the right thing. Third, don't reinvent the wheel. Use as much as as many existing tools as possible rather than inventing stuff to take care of your infrastructure needs and also your other developmental needs. So with that, I will be on the YouTube chat for any questions, but if you have more detailed questions, feel free to email them to me at anirudh@compile.com. And a quick plug, we are hiring. Do check out our website for for all the open positions, and do apply if you can. Thank you.
And all the referral bonus comes to HashiCorp community.
Definitely.
Hey, thanks, Anirudh. Thank you so much for your great talk. And can you go to the summary page once?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Yes. Team. So if you look at this slide, so the things, whatever the statements that is written here, it's not just statements. So it's all Anirudh's experience in his industry life, 8+ years, that turned into these statements. You may see this in any forums or any places, but this will not come with just seeing that. So this is experience plus learnings and whatever he has got. That's how it is turned up. So make sure you do practice and take it to the heart and follow this to achieve the great potential at your organization.
Definitely, Ram. That's definitely. I mean, it's all painful experience that we've gained over time. Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully
I
that will be useful.
I can easily read your mind. So that's why I want to look back at this slide.
Right.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Anirudh. And thanks. Team, if you have any questions for Anirudh, do not hesitate to chat in YouTube or anywhere in the forum. Thank you so much, everyone. And with that, we have our next MC, Santanu. I know he's waiting for a long time since morning, and I'll hand over it. And thank you, everyone. And thanks for the opportunity, Kathy, and everyone in the community. Bye-bye.
Hello, guys. So